Hi, this is Lizzie, and today I'm going to show you how to make this lovely pouch, but this time we're just going to use half a zip. Now please subscribe to my YouTube account and then you won't miss a single thing. So the first thing we're going to do, that's our gorgeous fabric. I'll put in the description all the measurements and the fabric that I've used, just so you know. So the first thing you need to do is to cut your fabric pieces. So you need your outer fabric, your lining fabric and your wadding, or a fabric stabiliser, a stiffener, to actually put between the layers. So it's 21.5 inches by 9.5 inches, and that's for the outer, the wadding and the lining as well. So it's all one size. And there's the centimetres underneath. The zip that we're going to use is just half a zip, so you can see it's just one half of a zip that I've just split in half, and I'm using one, so the other half I can use for another bag. And this is a little bit longer, so this works out to be about 23 inches long, so you need it to overlap each end by about an inch or so. So this is the fabric we're going to use, and like I say, I'll put that in the description, and this is the lining that I've chosen. Now I've actually glued all those layers together with a spray adhesive, a fabric spray adhesive, and I could quilt that. You can quilt it, free motion over it, you can do some lovely designs, but I'm just going to leave it as it is. So the first thing you need to do is to attach your zip to your fabric piece, and on the right side. So if we look at it on this angle here, so this is my zip, and the teeth are facing me here, but the teeth want to face the fabric. So if I pop it down, let's get it the right way around, pop it down here, and it's going to go down that way. So the teeth are facing into the right side of my fabric. Now you could use your quilting clips and you could clip that zip in place. I'm just going to go for it. But you could pin as well, just to make sure it stays in place, or you could use your quilting tape to glue it down and then stitch. So I'll just get my machine in. Now I've got it on a regular stitch length, so around about 2.5, 3. It's entirely up to you what size you use. I've moved my needle, I've got just my regular foot on there, but I can move my needle just a little way across, just so I can get a little bit nearer to my zip. But my foot is going to sit neatly against the teeth of my zip. And don't forget, those teeth are facing down onto that fabric. So all I'm going to do is just run this all the way down. I'm holding my zip in place. Like I say, you could use your quilting clips. And just make sure your fabric is lined up beautifully. There we go. All the way down. If you've got a zipper foot, you could use your zipper foot, of course. And all the way down. There we go. I'm not going to bother to backstitch because we're going to top stitch over this. Now with this actual piece now, what we're going to do is we're going to zigzag all these pieces together. So now all I'm going to do is zigzag all the way down. And it's quite a closed, small zigzag. So you'll see that's quite a closed zigzag there. but that gives us a nice neat finish. And you could trim all these little frayed pieces off a little bit later on. So what we're going to do now is just top stitch that zip, just to make sure that it folds over nicely when we put it to the front side. So if you have a quick look, you'll be able to see that we've encased the zip beautifully, but now what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch all the way along to give it a really lovely neat finish. So again, I'm going to put my machine onto straight stitch again, and I'm going to top stitch all the way along. Just make sure my needle is in the middle. There we go. So this holds it all beautifully in place. So just folding that zip under and just top stitching. And because I'm using my regular foot, you could always use a walking foot. So there's my top stitching done. It's made a really good job of it. Now you might be interested in my Gold Club. Here are a few details about it. You can find access to my Gold Club from my website. Sign up and you can connect to my Facebook Live events and join in all the fun my Gold Club members have on a weekly basis. And of course you get free patterns. See my Gold Club video on YouTube for more information. So now I've fitted the zip and I've top stitched it beautifully in place. We're ready to put the zipper on, the slider, and you'll think, how on earth? But I've got a great technique to show you which is really useful. So all you need to do is to get one end, so I always use the end that's on my right side, leave my left side where it is, so just like that. I'm going to get my right side, I'm going to trim it down just a wee bit to about there. So that's about 1 inch. And then I'm going to take some of these teeth away. Can you see? I've actually just cut those teeth away there. Let's just get it so you can see. Yeah, hopefully you can see that. So with the other side, the side that I haven't snipped, I'm going to put my zip on, my slider. And you can see I've used a different colour, which is quite funky. So all you're going to do is slide that on. And that should go on really easily. There we are. And that really is a really easy job. And then you wonder, how on earth am I going to get that on? Well, if we just bring this around, you can slide that through there. You've got something to grab hold of now, because that's actually on the slide but not quite through. But because we've given ourselves some length there, let me show it to you this way. So I've cut my piece of teeth off and I'm just popping it through my slider. Let's do this so you can see properly. There we go. Now I can get hold of the tabs at the end and I just pull that zip along. Okay, now you might need to practice that a couple of times, but because we've taken that teeth away, it takes all that bulk and it goes onto the slider beautifully. What you want to try and aim and do is to get these two seams fairly well lined up. It's not bad, it's not perfect, but it'll do for me. So now we've got our slider on, it matches the fabric beautifully, doesn't it? So I want to turn that through now. So now I've got my slider on and now I've got my right sides together. So what I'm going to do is just pinch this end here to kind of put all the fabric together and make sure that all my layers are lined up beautifully in that corner, because we know we cut that really accurately. And then you're going to stitch from here, down there, down there. Okay, just 2 seams. So bring my machine in, make sure we're still on a straight stitch. Now because this is a nylon zip I'm using, I'm not at all worried about my machine going over those nylon teeth. It should be perfectly fine. If you're using a metal zip, I'd be a little bit cautious. So I'm just feeding this all through. Now you might want to use a walking foot because we've got so many layers, some of these fabrics here on the top especially will want to ruckle up a little bit. So come down to the corner. It's a good 1/4 inch seam allowance I'm using. I mean more close to 1/2 inch, but that's fine. I'm just easing that fabric, making sure that my inside fabric is lying nice and flat inside. We don't want that to pucker up. Little back stitch there. I'm now going to trim this right down because I want to do that zigzag again to make it really neat. Now look, if you've got an overlocker or a serger, then please use it because you won't need to do this bit. You'll just need to do the side seam and the bottom seam and you're done. So it makes a huge difference having an overlocker and a serger. They're wonderful machines, but they seem sometimes a little bit of a beast. So just trim your threads, keep everything nice and neat. So now what I'm going to do is change to zigzag again. So you know it's quite a nice, neat, small zigzag. And we're going to go all the way down the side and across that bottom. I'll show you when I've done. It done. Now don't worry about neatening off those threads there because we're going to box these corners, so you don't need to worry, but I will just trim these top threads here and just make sure that all your ends are nicely cut away and nice and tidy. So now what you're going to do, your zip's already open, make sure you open it before you stitch those sides, and just going to pop your finger into that first corner and get those seams to meet. Just pinch those two together so you get that little V there, that little shape, that triangle, and you're going to measure in about 1 inch. I'm going to kind of eyeball it, but measure about 1 inch, and you're going to go straight across with a straight stitch. And try and get those seams to go in opposite directions on this part because you've got 2 seams there, you've got the bottom and the side. I'm going to leave it just like that for the moment. I'm popping my hand in this one. Again, I'm just pinching that corner together and I'm going to stitch across there about 1 inch. So if I hold that up, so I'm going across here and I'm measuring from this point in about 1 inch. Which is about 2.5 centimetres, isn't it? I'm just not a centimetre girl. My daughters are. It's a generation thing, isn't it? Right, I've stitched those corners. So what I'm going to do, as I did before, I'm just going to neaten those threads off and I'm going to cut straight across. Be brave. Take those points off. I know you just stitched it all and it looks beautiful. To be honest, you don't need to box this out at all, but it makes the bag stand really nicely. And it gives it a really nice professional finish. So I've snipped my corners, nice and straight going across there. So now I'm going to use that zigzag again. So put it on your zigzag. Again, it's a lovely small zigzag. What have I got it on? I can tell you. The width is 3. And the stitch length is about 1 1/4. And I find that to be perfect for this bag. So again, straight across that corner. Now if you had your overlock or your serger handy, you wouldn't need to do all this zigzagging, but you know what, not everybody has an overlocker or a serger. So there we are, I've trimmed all my threads. Shall we turn it through? Needs a good press, always needs a good press. Oh, I love this fabric. Now because we've top stitched the zip, it's going to keep all that beautifully in place. So poke those corners out as well. And you need to get your finger in there to bring that zip out. And you could, if you want, use the tip of your scissors just to push it out. As long as they're closed. A knitting needle is safer. Look how beautifully squared off that is. And of course this end is one continuous part of the zip. Done. So there we are. There's our zip pouch completed with half a zip. Enjoy.